Greetings, everyone, and welcome. It is June the 6th, 2025, 1:50 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That means we're approaching 9 o'clock there in the evening in Kyiv and in Moscow. Unfortunately, yesterday, the clown show between Elon Musk and Donald Trump took center stage, and it's so sad because the reality is Friedrich Mertz and President Vladimir Zelenskyy did some amazing things that was veiled behind the clown show that was unfolding and is still unfolding. Of course, Putin is always clowning around. The reality is Ukraine struck 5 more military targets. I'm going to tell you about that and show you some footage of that in just a moment. Additionally, Russia did respond with a massive strike on Ukraine. I have President Vladimir Zelenskyy speaking about that in English for you in just a moment. But Friedrich Merz, sitting in the same chair that President Zelenskyy sat in when he was so verbally assaulted by Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, did a phenomenal job telling Donald Trump the truth about Ukraine. It was obvious that Trump did not want to hear it, and he would deflect and move on to other topics and about how great he was. Of course, this was happening right prior to the implosion there with the clowns in D.C. I guess the best way to say it is we want to be distracted by that clown show, but the reality is we can't afford to be distracted by that clown show. We need to stay laser focused on sharing truth about Ukraine, Europe, what is happening there, Russia, the chaos that is happening globally, and stand and fight for freedom and stay away from the clowns. So that's where we're have it this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you're at, laser focused. Thank you for being here. Thank you for subscribing, liking, notification bell on, supporting. We're growing quickly and we're deeply grateful. You just don't understand. So many hours of work go into this. And when you see that subscription go one more, it's just encouraging. So thank you very, very, very much. Let's jump right in. First of all, early this morning, Ukraine striking 5 military targets. This was even prior to or during the beginning of the Russian attack against Ukraine. But once again, and even Mertz will talk to Donald Trump about this and set him straight. You're going to see that video as well. Ukraine strikes military targets. I'm showing you an aerial footage or aerial image here of Ingalls Air Force Base, and I have circled in red for you the zoned off area of fuel supply, oil supply, the depots, and this is exactly the spot that Ukraine struck this morning. They tore it up. In fact, here's some video of it. Someone driving there in town, talking about the big strike. But you can see, guys, this is not a hospital. This is not an apartment building. Not a sports team. This is a fuel depot. It's right there at the Ingalls Air Force Base. And that is how you do it. That's how you strike. You strike military targets. Now, after that, during that, the massive reply from Russia was happening. Here is actually an image. You can see the different colors. The yellow is the drones. The red and the blue and the green are the different types of missiles that were used. 452 airstrike weapons at Ukrainian cities. The attack lasted, if you include the beginning of the first drone that was sent out, Shahid or Geranium, Gerandva, to the last strike, it lasted over 10 hours. Cruise missiles were in the air about 2 hours. 452 airstrikes, 407 drones, 6 Iskanders or the North Korean KN-23s, 36 X-101s, 2 Iskander-K cruise missiles, 1 X-31P missile from an aircraft. This is what was launched over Ukraine, and yes, it did do a lot of devastating damage. Zelenskyy early this morning speaking. Over to the right, I have an image. Unfortunately, we lost the lives of rescue workers, and on the right there, you can see the guys saluting their friend. He's covered. They were there to rescue, and this is what happens. Another strike will come in and kill the double tap, the rescue workers. Russia attacked almost all of Ukraine, 3 dead and 49 wounded. The number may increase, unfortunately, according to Zelenskyy. From the first minute of the war, and this is what you need to hear, and then I'll play the video, they have been hitting cities and villages to destroy life. Now is the moment when America, Europe, and everyone in the world can stop this war by putting pressure on Russia. And Zelenskyy goes all in here. And I go back to this image here. We're not clowning around, man. This is horrible what is happening. And we don't have time to play these games and brush it off and call it, oh, it's just two kids fighting in a park. And you'll hear about that in a moment and Peskov's response. In the yellow there, you can see his quote today. If someone does not put pressure and gives the war more time to take lives, this is complicity and responsibility. So now Zelensky's saying it's not just you're ignoring it, but now you are complicit in it and you move to the place of responsibility in it. It's very, very difficult. Very difficult. Let's do this. Let's go to the video clip here. Zelenskyy speaking.
Today, those of you in Ukraine witnessed another brutal Russian attack on Ukrainian cities nationwide, from Chernihiv in the east to Lutsk in the west, from Kiev to our southern regions. In one night, over 400 attack drones and 40-plus missiles, including ballistic ones, were launched. Russians damaged Kiev's homes and urban infrastructure with this strike. In Lutsk, Volyn, they destroyed a hotel housing Ukrainian athletes. Other regions saw damage to residential, energy, and industrial infrastructure. Russians even burned another warehouse containing humanitarian aid. This is the nature of Russia's war. They're fighting against cities and life itself. Wherever Russian forces occupy Ukraine, normal life ceases to exist. In some cities, sadly, nothing remains at all. Only scorched ruins are left.
And there you have Zelenskyy speaking directly. He was talking about some cities that you may not know very well, and right now the air alarms are quiet. But he was talking about Volyn region. It's way over here by Poland and Belarus, and Lutsk, which is the city right here, and one of the cities that took the most damage, probably the most, was actually here in Ternopil. It was massively struck, especially in the infrastructure. The hotel where the athletes were was up here. A lot of the heavy missile strikes out here in very western Ukraine, but Ukraine was struck all over. I have some video here that I had to actually edit because I was too concerned. I don't want YouTube to take stuff down with the explosions or whatever, but this just gives you a sense of what was happening, and it's reality. This is not a clown show. This is reality. He's talking about how his back is injured. See the fire clean up. This was happening all over Ukraine. Official footage coming in. Emergency services. So this is the reality, ladies and gentlemen, of what Ukraine was dealing with. It's not a show. It's not two kids fighting in a park. It's terrorism. It's genocide. And we must stay laser focused on it. Now, I want us not to miss what Mertz did yesterday. It was fantastic. He was spot on. The German chancellor came to Washington with the aim of getting the U.S. president to take a tougher stance on the war. However, unfortunately, Trump effectively brushed it off, saying that the U.S. cannot do anything to end the war between Russia and Ukraine right now. He then went on to make the ludicrous, disgusting statements that sometimes you see two little kids fighting like crazy in the park. How can you even say that? They hate each other and they're fighting in the park and you're trying to separate them. They don't want to be separated. Sometimes it's better to let them fight for a while and then separate them. Yeah, what an ignorant statement. And the attention needs to be drawn to it. Careless statement. Careless. Let's continue as Mertz continues. 4 months into his second term, Trump speaks of the war as if he were an outside observer, and that's what we must not miss, because that's what he said. When you, oh, well, those two kids are fighting in the park over there. Okay, you're not a part of it. Mr. Mertz reminded the president that Friday, June 6th, today, was the anniversary of Operation D-Day, when the Americans ended the war in Europe, and I think it's in your hands, particularly in ours, Mr. Mertz added. Then Trump joked about the Nazis. It wasn't a very pleasant day for you, was it? Of course, referring to the defeat of Adolf Hitler, and that's when Mertz says, excuse me? No, it was a good day. Nazism was defeated in our country. And you know, this is something that most people missed. Mertz did it so beautifully. And unfortunately, the distraction of the clown show in DC, we lost this point, but I'm not going to lose it. He gave a gift to Donald Trump of the birth certificate of his ancestors, like grandfather, whatever it was exactly, of German descent. So when Trump's making jokes about Germans and, oh, it's bad for you, you know, Mertz right there had a, hey, you know, you got German blood in you, don't you? It was beautiful. Trump made no promises. Instead, he boasted about the U.S. economy and the number of people drafted into the army under his leadership. That is what he was talking about. And this was right before the implosion happened between Musk and Trump, the clown show. Mertz later that evening went on Fox News and he said, if Ukraine had been admitted to NATO back in 2008, then perhaps the current war could have been avoided. Isn't that a way to flip the narrative? You know, I think he's right. I think he's exactly right. Today, Ukraine releasing a statistic that Ukrainians are standing strong. This is written in Ukrainian language. I'll translate it for you. How long, basically, are you ready to fight for the territory of Ukraine? How long are you ready to fight in this war? And on the far right is the one we want to pay attention to, because it begins there all the way back to the beginning of the full-scale invasion in 22, and we come now all the way to June of 2025. The darkest blue, 60% there on the far right, I'm ready to fight until the end. 6% in the lighter blue, I'm ready to fight for another year. Orange, I'm not sure, another month, another 6 months. And then the gray, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to answer. But reality, 60% ready to fight forever. 6%, another year. 20%, up to 6 more months. So basically, what is that? 86%. 86%. We're fighting for our country. That's the reality. Now, we did get some responses, and most have missed this because everybody's watching the show there in DC. But Peskov replied to Trump specifically about the kids in the park statement. He said, of course, the U.S. president may have his own point of view on what is happening. For us, it is an existential question. It is a question of our national interest. It is a question of our security and our future and our children's, the future of our country. That is why a special military operation is being carried out after all possibilities for settling the problems by political and diplomatic means have been exhausted, and they were exhausted after all our initiatives were completely rejected by the Westerners. For us, what is happening has significance. It is not a park fight. That's about as bold as you're going to get out of Peskov. So the press secretary for Vladimir Putin, Peskov, was responding to the other press secretary for Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump. While that's happening, Lavrov continues to drop lies. Nobody's seeing these stories, guys. I'm looking out there on YouTube and everything. They're just going on by today. What was Lavrov saying? You won't even believe what Lavrov was saying. He is in clip 5.
Respect for the Russian language, its great culture, and Russian-speaking people is of utmost importance to us. We cannot tolerate discrimination or the blatant terror against all things Russian unleashed by the Kiev regime. Ukrainian followers of Bandera and Shukevich systematically destroy everything connected to Russia through legislation. The Kiev regime has a particular hatred for the Russian language, banning its use through numerous restrictions. Russia will not abandon Russians and Russian speakers in their time of need. We will ensure their legal rights, including speaking their native tongue, are fully restored. We'll keep raising this critical issue internationally, insisting its resolution is key to a lasting peaceful settlement in Ukraine.
All lies, 100%, but he's dropping it. And this will be the information passed on to the United States. This is nothing but lies. Ladies and gentlemen, 14 months I've spent on the front lines and looking forward to getting back very, very quickly. You'll be seeing it. I speak Russian there. I've never had a problem. Speak Russian all over Ukraine. Never had a problem. It's nothing but lies. Of course, Ukraine, their culture, their language, learning in their language, all of that. But this narrative that they put out on their language day is just a lie. It's just a cover up to destroy Ukraine and to take it over. That's it. Well, we do not end with Lavrov on this update. We end with Zakharova. Another lie dropped today that will be passed on to DC. She stated, everything that you're hearing from Ukraine is wrong. There are 0 captured children inside Russia. We have no children to return. What are they talking about? There are 0. Yeah, all of this happening while we all were doing this. No, not that one. While we were doing this. That one. Mad at Mex. Yeah. Yeah, one of guys on my Discord and our supporters made that video. He says that, it's just eating popcorn, watching the show happen, and we cannot get caught up with doing that. We wanted to see that implosion happen. We knew it was going to happen, but ladies and gentlemen, it cannot distract us from what is really happening and the reality of that. So this is where we're at today. Up to this moment, I will be back in a few hours with the next update. A lot of things are unfolding right now, but we stay laser focused on supporting and standing with Ukraine. You guys be blessed, and we'll be back at you.